The sun hadn't even burned through the morning fog when I spotted a white pickup truck parked at the edge of my land. I froze mid-step, rake in hand, staring across the dew-covered grass. It had the bold blue letters HOA compliance stamped on the door. My stomach sank. This was my land, my work, my dream. A year ago, this place was nothing but a forgotten patch of dirt and weeds. The lake was murky, choked with trash, and the dock looked like it would collapse under a squirrel. I'd spent months rebuilding it, hauling out old tires, clearing the banks, planting wildflowers, and fixing that dock plank by plank. It had become my peace, my escape from the noise of everything else. So when I saw that truck, I knew peace was over. The door slammed shut, and a woman stepped out. Mid-50s, sharp bob haircut, tailored navy blazer, clipboard clutched like a sword. She didn't wave, she didn't smile. She just marched toward me like she was on a mission. "You can't do this here," she barked before I could even say good morning. I straightened, gripping the rake a little tighter. "Excuse me?" "This lake," she said, gesturing like she owned the place, "belongs to the HOA. You're in violation of community guidelines." I blinked, then blinked again. "The HOA? This property isn't even in your jurisdiction." She shoved a faded yellow paper in my face, a printed notice that looked like it had been photocopied 100 times. "Unauthorized modification of a shared body of water," it read. The text was meant to intimidate. "This is private property," I said, steady but firm. She let out a sharp, fake laugh. "Private? Honey, you think a deed means anything here?" Her words hit like an insult wrapped in arrogance. She looked around, taking in the dock, the flowers, the restored water, her lips curling into a smirk. Then she pulled out her phone and started dialing someone. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be a friendly chat. I muttered under my breath, "Here we go." She walked a few steps away, whispering into her phone. I could already imagine her calling in reinforcements, maybe a board member or some rent-a-cop, the kind of people who thrive on pretending they have power. "I didn't fight for this country," I said quietly, mostly to myself. "Just to be told I can't fix up my own damn lake." When she hung up, her confidence had only grown. "You've got 24 hours to remove everything," she declared, chin lifted high. "Or we'll pursue legal action." I let her words hang in the air, the morning breeze rippling across the water. Then I smiled, a slow, calm kind of smile that tends to make arrogant people nervous. "You might want to check the property records first," I said. "I don't need to," she snapped. "Actually," I interrupted, "you do. Because I've got the deed, the survey map, and water rights, all signed, sealed, and recorded. Every inch of this land belongs to me." Her confidence faltered, just a flicker, but I caught it. That's impossible," she stammered. "Oh, it's very possible," I said, leaning casually against the dock. "And just so you know, I've got cameras recording this little visit." Her expression froze. Her phone buzzed again, and she stepped away to answer it. I couldn't make out every word, but I heard her say, "He's claiming ownership of the water rights." No, I didn't know. She ended the call looking a shade paler. "I'm just enforcing community rules," she said weakly. "Fake rules," I countered. That made her flinch. For the first time, she looked unsure. That's when I noticed something odd, a small metallic badge sticking out of her purse. I took a step closer. The emblem looked official, but the design was wrong, off-center, cheaply printed. "Fake authority now?" I muttered. "Classic." Her face turned red. "You don't understand who you're dealing with," she spat. "Oh, I think I do," I said softly. "The kind of person who thinks intimidation counts as power." Her eyes darted toward the road, like she was waiting for backup, and right on cue, I heard the low growl of an engine. A black SUV rolled to a stop beside her truck. Two men stepped out, mid-30s, matching polos, dark sunglasses. They flashed silver badges. "We're with the HOA Enforcement Division," one said stiffly. I raised an eyebrow. "HOA? What now?" "Just here to ensure compliance," he said. His tone was practiced, rehearsed. I pointed toward the security cameras on my porch. "Then you won't mind if I record this conversation." The second man shifted uneasily. They hadn't expected that. The woman whispered something to them, but I could see her confidence crumbling. "Gentlemen," I said, stepping forward, "unless you've got a court order or police badge, you're trespassing. And I'll be happy to let the sheriff know." The taller man swallowed hard. "We're just following up on a complaint." "From her?" I asked, jerking my chin toward the woman. "The same person waving fake paperwork and fake authority?" He didn't answer. Behind them, a few neighbors had started peeking from their porches, phones in hand. Word was spreading fast. The woman noticed, too. Her jaw tightened. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You think the HOA won't fight back?" I let out a small laugh. "I've dealt with worse than a couple of clipboard bullies." She glared at me, but her hands trembled. I decided to end it right there. I pulled out a leather folder from my truck. Inside were my documents: the deed, the water rights, the legal survey stamped by the county. I held them up so everyone could see. "This," I said, "is proof. Every inch of this lake belongs to me. And if any of you set foot on my land again without permission, I'll consider it trespassing." The men exchanged uneasy glances. One finally muttered, "Maybe we should check with legal first." The woman spun on him, furious. "We don't need to." "Yes," he cut her off. "We do." Her face went white. The power shifted in an instant. She tried to salvage her authority, but her voice cracked. "You're making a big mistake." "No," I said quietly. "You are." For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the water lapping softly against the dock. Then, like a wave breaking, she turned and stormed back to her car. The two officers hesitated, then followed her, their fake badges catching the sunlight as they left. As their vehicles disappeared down the road, I finally exhaled. My wife, Sarah, stepped out from behind the porch. She'd been recording the whole thing. "I told you she'd pull something like this," she said. "Yeah," I replied, wiping sweat from my brow. "But I didn't think she'd go that far." For a moment, we stood in silence, watching the lake shimmer. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. It wasn't. The next day, a certified letter arrived. HOA letterhead. Legal threats. They were accusing me of damaging community resources and creating an unauthorized recreational structure. I couldn't believe it. They were doubling down. Over the next week, the harassment escalated. Someone slashed my mailbox. My trash bins went missing. A neighbor I'd chatted with every morning suddenly refused to make eye contact. It was like I'd become the town villain overnight. I set up more cameras, every corner, every angle. If they wanted a war, I'd give them one, with evidence. Then one night, around 11 p.m., headlights swept across my window. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside. A figure darted away from my dock. I sprinted after them, yelling, "Hey!" But they vanished into the trees. When I got to the water, I saw what they'd done. Someone had poured oil thick, black oil into the lake. My chest burned with rage. I could taste the anger in the back of my throat. The next morning, I filed a police report. Real police this time. They took samples, photos, everything. The officer, a young guy named Daniels, shook his head. "This isn't random," he said. "This looks personal." "Oh, it's personal," I muttered. Days passed. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed with an email from the county clerk's office. "Property ownership inquiry," the subject read. Attached were digital copies of my deed and, get this, a recent attempt to transfer ownership of the lake to the HOA. They were trying to steal my land on paper. That's when my patience ran out. I called my attorney, laid out every detail, and we filed a counterclaim for harassment, defamation, and property interference. It took weeks, but when the first hearing was scheduled, guess who showed up in court? Clipboard Queen herself, flanked by her 2 fake enforcers. Only this time, the judge wasn't buying her act. The moment my lawyer displayed the video footage, her trespassing, issuing fake threats, flashing a counterfeit badge, her face drained of color. The judge ordered an immediate restraining order against her and the HOA's compliance team. The room fell silent. When it was over, I walked past her slowly. She refused to look at me. "You should have left me alone," I said quietly. Outside the courthouse, local news had already picked up the story. Cameras, microphones, flashing lights. Apparently, I wasn't the first homeowner she'd targeted, but I was the first to fight back and win. By the next week, she'd resigned from the HOA. The enforcement division was exposed as a group of unlicensed private contractors. The county launched an investigation into the board's misuse of funds. As for my lake, I restored it again, cleaned the oil, restocked the fish, repainted the dock. It's better now than ever. Sometimes I still see the HOA truck drive by, slowing just a little before speeding off again. But it doesn't bother me anymore. Because now they know. You don't mess with someone's dream, especially when that dream is built with hard work, patience, and proof. Every time the sun hits the water just right, I remember that day. The day I stood up not just for my land, but for the right to call it mine. People like her thrive on fear and silence. I chose neither. My wife often jokes that I should put up a sign that says, "Welcome to Freedom Lake." Maybe I will. Because this land, this water, it's more than property. It's proof that some battles aren't fought with fists or lawyers. They're fought with persistence, with truth, with the kind of calm that unnerves bullies. So now, when the breeze moves across the water and ripples shimmer like silver, I smile. They tried to take it. They tried to intimidate me. But I was ready. And every time I see that lake sparkle under the morning sun, I think to myself, some victories don't need noise, just peace, and a man who refuses to back down.